Greetings everyone, welcome back to Blade Bias. Today we will be talking about my time with this bad boy, the Zippy Reblade for the BBSuperfly. So these are the, I figure I should clear this up because I think a few people were confused last time. This blade was designed by Zippy. So this is a Zippy blade, as you can tell by the Zippy logo. These are the hex handles. These are new handles that BBSuperfly released specifically for the BBSuperfly. So they are, BBSuperfly specific things. And then we have Zippy spacers. This was lent to me from the wonderful Ted Flips in a temp trade that I did with him for my Astra and my Wing. I think I gave him. It's actually probably not a good sign that I say I think I gave him to that. But today I just want to do kind of a chill video talking about this thing because we have a lot of stuff that I have to do follow-up videos on. And this is the one that I've had the longest, and this is the one I was able to form the quickest opinions on. So, let's talk about a plastic maker's live blade, which is just such a sick thing to be able to say. Like, someone who typically makes plastic ballast songs making a live blade for something that has always been a metal ballast song. It's super sick, especially for a ballast song that I love so very much. The Superfly lately really has been probably my favorite thing to flip just because it feels, I don't know, it just feels right lately. I go through phases a lot in my flipping journey where different ballast songs just feel quote unquote right. Like, I can flip them well. They do what I want them to do. They don't feel weird at all. Because sometimes I'll pick up a ballast song that previously I loved. And, I still do love. And it will be, it'll just be like, it'll just feel weird. It won't feel right to flip it. I won't be able to do much on it. The Superfly is like almost never a part of that. It's light, it's agile, and I just really like it. So, that is both a blessing and a curse for Zippy in making his live blade here. Because the thing with reblades is you're changing something. And on a worse ballast song, that's something that I would usually embrace with open arms. However, on a ballast song that I consider to be really, really good, like in my top ever, honestly, I really should sit down and properly redo I should properly do my personal tier list of ballast songs, at least in my collection. So Zippy had a lot of shoes to fill. There's, a lot of different things that I like about the Superfly. This could change any one of them, and it could make it a worse experience. So it's always tough when you have a reblade of something that I think already flips really well, as opposed to a reblade of something that doesn't already flip well. Like, I don't know, what's a popular reblade choice? Something like a Lucha, maybe? Although the Lucha blade isn't awful. Anyway, I think Zippy has successfully lived up to the legacy of the Superfly. Now, I am honestly not sure how much of that comes down to the hex handles. I can't really tell how different the hex handles are because there's so much else that's different about this ballast song. And full disclosure, I haven't touched the weights at all. I found that the default stock profile that Ted sent it in was quite good. Like, I enjoyed it. So I left it as is. I didn't really have time to mess with it. My fault, but I think the primary focus here is the blade more so than the custom Zippy spacers, even though they are amazing. And, as usual with Zippy, I'm sorry for dropping this so much, Ted. As usual for Zippy, they are highly customizable. But I think my feedback to this all comes down to one simple thing, and it's honestly the highest praise that I think I could give to a product like this. It feels seamless. It doesn't feel like a reblade. It genuinely does feel like this was made in collaboration. I mean, maybe it was. I have no idea the behind the scenes of this blade, to be completely honest with you, but it feels seamless when compared to the Superfly. I think the worst thing that you can do, unless you're specifically trying to change a ballast song with a reblade, the worst thing you can do is make it feel off or different from the original product. And not in the sense that it changed the flipping performance, But there's plenty of reblades out there that I've seen or that I've tried where I just go, okay, this loses the entire identity of the balisong entirely. Like, it feels completely out of place. I think I've seen a few machine-wise reblades like that where it's just like, yeah, you kind of lost the identity of that machine-wise product right there. And I don't really like that. I mean, some people do, because again, if you want to change the balisong, that's great. But with the Superfly, it's not something that I'm like super stoked to change. So the fact that this feels seamless, the fact that this doesn't feel like a reblade, it kind of feels like a first party, made by BB Barfly product. It's some of the highest praise that I could give to a reblade like this, because this thing is really, really stellar. It is a much more handle heavy and, heavy in general experience than my weightless Superfly. My weightless Superfly feels weightless. It feels very light. It feels very agile. This is still agile, but it ultimately feels heavier, carries more momentum, feels denser. And I think that is ultimately kind of down to the handles having more material on them. But the blade as well, it balances out quite nicely because you have this, at least from what I can tell, it's very difficult to tell the difference between the hex handles and the normal handles when everything else is different on this. But the slightly heavier handles are balanced out really well by the blade. There's tip weight. This thing doesn't really lose performance in any crazy way. It 0Gs amazingly, it double thumb rollovers amazingly, it fans amazingly, choker fans amazingly, chaplains amazingly, although I will admit the chaplain is a little bit uncomfortable. It does feel a bit unfinished on the blade spine. Nothing crazy, but definitely something that's more uncomfortable than your average blade spine, I would say. Like I said, not a huge deal, but probably my biggest complaint with this thing overall. But I really like this thing. We'll kind of talk about this later with the Stitch R, which I will talk about at a later date. Spoiler alert, it's going to be me just glazing that thing the whole video. But this is like a really solid, this is one of those really solid EDC potential balisongs that I see. Because it flips well, it feels heavy, it feels sturdy, and it's just got a nice profile on it. It's a nice blade profile. I like the blade profile. It looks beautiful. I don't really know specifically what this is, but I really do like this kind of Bowie curve with this more aggressive angle on the back here. It does well, especially with these more geometric handles and the splash of color from the spacers. It's just overall a really fun balisong, and with the customizability that I'm sure is possible with the spacers on this thing, the fact that you can tune it to exactly what you want it to, as is usual for all of Zippy's products, I think this is just a winner for someone who's looking for an EDC, especially because like this is a balisong that I would be proud to EDC around. And I think the fact that the blade came from a plastic maker says a lot about that. Now, I'm no expert on making blades like this. I'm sure there's going to be someone out there who says, oh, the sharpening angle is too shallow, too steep. I don't really know. Maybe there's going to be someone who says, oh, there's this issue, there's this issue, there's this issue. But as a balisong, as a flipping experience, I've really, really enjoyed this thing. It just feels solid. It feels hefty. It feels weighty. It carries enough momentum in all the right places. It doesn't lose momentum or feel like it's lacking any weight in any places. I mean, looking at the blade, I would think maybe it looks kind of thin, but the fact that it kind of thickens up towards the end here makes it really well balanced. I do really, really enjoy the balance on this thing. And I would probably most describe it as like a slight handle bias, but a lot of momentum. And I think that's something that a lot of people like. It definitely kind of has that older school flipping performance to it, that kind of more focused in the handles, more focused on momentum instead of like the new age, lighter, longer, whatever. I like it. I like it a lot. And like I said, I think the best feedback or the best highest praise I can give to something like this is that it just feels seamless. It doesn't feel aftermarket, to me at least. Maybe you disagree with the visuals or anything like that, but I think the flipping is definitely on par with what you can get from a normal Superfly. I don't think you're losing any performance there. And I personally think that aesthetics of the blade fit these handles especially quite nicely. Now, I think I would be singing a different tune if these were on the normal handles. That looks a little bit worse to me, but I like it. I think Zippy did a great job on both these and the spacers, and it's a balisong that I have really enjoyed flipping in the time that I've had it. Huge thank you to Ted for doing a temp trade with me for it. I will be sending this thing back to him, obviously, but maybe I'll look at picking one of these up in the future. Not entirely sure, since, like I said, part of the appeal to me is these new handles. I guess as an add-on to the end of the video, I'll talk about the handles really quick. The handles are nice. They provide a lot of grip. They are sharper than you would expect. This is a much more pronounced texture than you would expect, but there's a lot of friction there when you rub your fingers across it, which leads to just an overall grippy experience. I mean, not that the original Superfly is not grippy, but they feel nice. I would guess that they have more handle bias than the original, considering that there's so much more weight to them. But I really can't tell for sure unless I were to take this apart, put it on my Superfly, and, you know, eliminate all other variables so that I can actually give it a proper comparison, which, again, with all the stuff that I have, sorry, Ted. With all the stuff that I have, I just don't have the time for. But yeah, that is the Zippy Reblade for the BB Barfly Superfly. Really like it. Really solid balisong. Kind of sad to see it go, but huge thank you to Ted for letting me try it. Shout out Zippy as usual. Love that guy. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.